Hi, this is Phil Newman from Longevity.Technology, and I'm delighted to say I'm joined by the founder and CEO of BioXtek, Dr. Bruce Werber. Bruce, how are you?
I'm excellent. A pleasure to see you today, Phil.
Well, Bruce, very excited to talk with you about your really quite breakthrough science. And obviously, you've got a very interesting business that's looking at different approaches to market. But maybe we could just maybe wind back a little bit and understand how placental birth tissue, how do you go about creating regenerative therapeutics with placental birth tissue?
We use our BioPUR process. So let me expand on that a bit. Uh, First of all, we qualify the donating mothers. We work with the obstetricians, and they have scheduled C-sections. We then offer to the moms if they would like to donate the leftovers after their healthy baby is born. They consent. Then we go through the mom's social history, medical history, family history, their serology. We take their blood and test for any communicable diseases. We have a very extensive exclusion list for their social, family, and medical histories. So we select out very healthy moms with healthy pregnancies, with healthy babies that are born, and then we collect all of the leftovers. So we collect the placental sac, the amniotic fluid, the umbilical cord, and then we bring that to our lab within 24 hours, and we begin our processing. Uh,
And obviously, we'll talk a little bit about how you process that then into therapeutics. So you've got three lines to your business, right? As I understand it, one of them being commercial, consumer, and the other two being commercial and on the therapeutic side. So would you mind just talking us through those three aspects to your company?
Certainly. So our major thrust at the moment is utilizing components of the placental sac and the umbilical cord. So we make patches. If you can, they come in a variety of sizes from 2 by 2 square centimeters upwards of 5 by 6 square centimeters, and they come in multiple layers. So if you think of the placental sac, comes with 2 layers. It comes with the maternal layer, the chorion, the outer layer, and then the inner layer, the amnion. And so we have a single layer type of patch that's just the inner layer, the amnion. Then we have two variations on the dual. We have what's called an amnion chorion. That's the naturally occurring layers, but we take off the layers of the maternal side that could potentially cause a graft-host reaction. But then we also have a dual layer amnion. Everything's all from the same donor. So the amnion would be
Right.
from the same placental sac, just now we've double layered the amnion on itself, and there's no chorion. Then we have,
And
yeah, go ahead.
sorry. So just before we go on to your next product, what would the application for that
Right.
be
So
then?
for each of these multi-layered membranes, they're used for most notably wound care. They accelerate the healing of wounds, diabetic wounds, third-degree burns without any scarring. Uh, they're also used as a covering on a replacement for the pericardium of the heart. They're also used in spine surgery and neurosurgery to replace the dura, the covering of the brain and the spine. So those are the major uses. Secondarily, uses are in orthopedics for tendon repair and for making little nerve tunnels to help nerves regrow or nerves to grow without scarring. These
Okay.
membranes are very powerful anti-fibrotic, so they stop scarring, and they also provide a anti-inflammatory environment. So they're very, very powerful, just the membranes alone.
Got it. Got it. So, product number two, then, Bruce, if you don't
Sir,
mind.
so we have we've taken the contents of the umbilical cord, not the umbilical blood, but the contents of the umbilical cord, it's named Wharton's jelly, and we have combined that with the amniotic fluid, the fluid that the baby was floating in, and we've made that into a topical cosmetic. and it's fully registered as a
Okay.
topical cosmetic, and it can assist in fine wrinkling, improving the temperature and turgor of your skin when applied topically. And then our third product, which is undergoing full regulatory approval from FDA. And this is also a Wharton's jelly, the contents of the umbilical cord plus the amniotic fluid. And this is going to be our therapeutic product. This is not available commercially as of yet, as we have to go through the what's called an IND, investigative new drug application, to ultimately achieve a biologics license. So this is a multi-year process, but do note that we have proof of concept studies, as this product or very similar product was used up until 2.5 years ago, just like the membrane products, as a human transplant tissue. And then 2.5, almost 3 years ago, FDA had decided no, they wanted to they changed the designation that these liquid injectable products needed to undergo a full drug review and regulatory compliance program. So that's where we are.
Understood. So really taking the sort of one, two, three. So the first one is the membrane patches, which are products that are now in the marketplace already. They're out there, proven. They're regulated. You're then moving into the cosmetic field with, I guess, a self-certified sort of GRAS status for
That's correct.
this. And that's your next generational step as a company. Then as you move into the future, you're pursuing the clinical pathways associated with building ultimately going to be a new regenerative
That is
therapeutic.
correct. Now, one more step to that is our patches currently are considered human tissue transplant material under the FDA 361. We're also moving those to a medical device status. So we have done all of the work improving the manufacturing process, making it more standardized, full GMP, good manufacturing practices, good tissue practices, GTP. So we're fully certified lab. We have a processing facility here in Pompano Beach, Florida, where we are at the full level of pharmaceutical manufacturing with quality control. And so we're going to move these human tissue transplants into a more of a medical device designation so that they have a full accreditation.
Okay, great. And of course, our audience are going to be very interested both in the topical cosmetic, from a kind of market access perspective, and likewise the future of your regenerative therapies. So maybe let's just talk a little bit about the studies that you've been performing. I mean, obviously, we're going to toggle in this conversation across the three product portfolios. So if you could help us navigate that, Bruce, it would be really appreciated, because I'm sure it gets quite complicated.
Certainly. So we have multiple studies under IRB, Investigative Review Board approval. So we have one study comparing several different other types of wound coverings from porcine pig well, most of them are porcine, different variants, porcine gut versus or porcine amnion versus human amnion. And then we are comparing single layer versus the double layer versus the triple and four layer. So we have these comparative studies ongoing presently, which the preliminary data has been very, very positive as to the safety and efficacy of our products. We have a study on just getting started on utilizing the membrane as a covering to the heart. And there's some interesting, aside from helping to decrease the inflammation on the heart, it also has some early findings that it is improving the electrical field, the functioning of the heart in your EKG, in how the heart is functioning. So we have some very interesting findings that hopefully in the very near future will be published. So those are uh, uh, the ongoing studies. We do know from over the last 10, 15 years of use in spine surgery that when you lay in this membrane, it reduces the scarring, so it improves the outcomes of spine surgery, but it also, if you have to go back for surgery on another level, it decreases the surgical time because there's not a lot of scar binding the tissue to the bone or to even the nerves. And we've found that in plastic surgery, when you use the membrane, it also reduces scarring. So it also improves the outcomes in plastic surgery. So those studies. Then we have a small cosmetic study that is just concluding, showing the improvement of the skin from topical application of this product. And really what we find is that it's the exosome component of the combination of the amniotic fluid and the Wharton's jelly that are having a very positive effect on the facial skin, as well as in regenerating hair. So very positive, even though you and I are not a good example. But many of the patients in the study have shown great success in restoring their what would have been their normal hair growth patterns.
Okay. Well, I mean, obviously, Bruce, there's a lot going on with your company at the moment. So you've got effectively three tracks running, three different therapeutic areas, as it were. One in the consumer sphere. Very interesting business that you've got. So I guess that communicating this is quite challenging. That you've got all of these omni-channel approaches with different products. Maybe let's talk a little bit about how you're scaling up the business, right? Because you mentioned you've got a manufacturing facility. A lot of companies would be dying to have that in their portfolio. So presumably, whatever it is that you're taking forward across these three channels, you've got a pretty strong baseline to be working from as you currently stand, both from a scientific and intellectual perspective, but also from a scalability perspective. Is
That
that
is
right?
correct. Yes. We have an 11,000 square foot facility here in Pompano Beach, Florida. It's 2 years old, full GMP, GTP certified, eight clean rooms. We have a we have just achieved our American Association of Tissue Banks accreditation. We have 34 staff plus, and that's our quality team and our technicians. Then we have 4 PhDs that are working in our research and development department, and we have several consultants, our medical advisory board that helps us build the clinical protocols for the trials, as well as help design the best way to administer these products as we move into the commercial sphere.
Great. So you're capital raising at the moment, as many companies are. So as we sort of wrap up, Bruce, could we maybe just talk a little bit about your chosen future market? So could we talk first of all about the cosmetic applications in a bit more detail, and then your therapeutic applications? So let's do cosmetics first. So what does that look like in terms of your target market and your timing to those markets?
We're I would say we have some trial facilities already out here in Florida, doing some of these preliminary studies. But we are moving forward with Biolumina, which will be our brand, and that is going to have a nationwide launch as we bring uh, very sophisticated dermatologists and advanced med-spas online with this technology, and they're trained. We're working with a medical device that not ourselves, but another company to that works in conjunction, because one of the keys to success in using these regenerative therapeutics is signaling, is creating signaling. And so we had not so much painful inflammation, but we have to stimulate the tissue. We have to stimulate the blood supply. And by doing so, then it starts the whole regenerative cascade of building collagen and having a robust, really recruiting the customer's own system to regenerate the tissue in the face. We're just assisting or accelerating that regenerative process. So we're working with other vendors to combine technologies to have the most efficacious improvement in facial aesthetics.
And would that be deployed through, I mean, would that be like through aesthetic
Yes,
clinics, through the
exactly.
combination of the.
Medi-spas, licensed estheticians. We're looking at the licensed providers, both physician, nurse practitioner, licensed estheticians, people with the more advanced credentials that have already been applying the latest and greatest in facial aesthetic techniques, and we're going to add to their armamentarium of tools to help their people.
Okay, great. And then let's maybe move into the third phase of your business, which is the regenerative therapeutics, which of course has got a lot of people's attention at the moment. So a lot of sound science based on your approvals and your existing business now. What is this third phase of your business going to look like, and what would be the applications that you'd be considering for
Yeah,
that?
so our key drive is in our previous proof of concept that we've had significant improvement in cardiac and pulmonary function. So in proof of concept, we have had significant efficacy shown in COPD, um, post-COVID, long COVID, a variety of pulmonary issues, and then in the cardiac world, post-MI, and with congestive heart failure, we've also seen significant improvements in cardiac function. I can't really get into any more specific than that, but our key market is going to be in cardiopulmonary initially. We already know its efficacy in the orthopedic world in treating tendinopathies, tendinosis, golfer's elbow, tennis elbow, things like this, rotator cuff. But that is a secondary, that'll be our next phase after we get our biologics license for the cardiopulmonary arena. Then we'll look at the musculoskeletal. But we do know, and there's case series after case series in the literature that have shown that variety of different combinations of these placental birth tissue therapeutics can be efficacious for kidney disease, liver disease, etc. So there's a tremendous spectrum of pathologies that have shown success, and again, we need to prove to the world and to, of course, FDA that we understand the mechanism of action, we understand how it's working, and of course, most importantly, is have standardized dosing so that every dose is within the same range as the dose before and the dose after. So that's really what's one of the key factors to ensuring that we meet all of the regulatory burden.
Yeah, great. Well, obviously, I mean, a very interesting investor proposition, Bruce. That you got a here and now business, you got a next gen business with the aesthetics industry, and then likewise back into the therapeutics with regenerative therapy. So you guys are capital raising at the moment. So what's the raise and what's the mechanism that you're employing for
So
this?
we're looking to raise $10 million via convertible note. And we have all that documentation available if anybody's interested in discussing with me. We are cash flowing positive. We do, from our membrane sales currently, are allowing us to cash flow positive, but uh, inflation affects all of us, and the cost of clinical trials is rising. And we thought our cash flow initially was going to be able to support all of this, but we've come to the realization we need additional capital to help us drive forward our research and development team at a faster pace, and to fund these clinical trials to achieve that biologics license sooner than later.
Understood. Well, Bruce, thank you so much for spending time with us today. And of course, best of luck with the round and fascinating work. So our best wishes to you and your team.
Thank you, Phil. Appreciate your time today. Thank you.